What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson, and today we're going to be discussing some major developments in the Bitcoin chart. As you saw in that intro, the weekly RSI is beginning to break out. Bitcoin's weekly RSI is getting a breakout for the first time since September of 2024. And for the first time since January 15th, Bitcoin's daily MACD is crossing up. And for the S&P 500, since March of 2024, we've had several of these what look like rising wedges. And you guys know rising wedges are often bearish, but so far every one of these has had bullish resolution. And we're inside of another one right now, ready to break the all-time high. And the US dollar index has seen a local top, a lower high from 2022, major pullback. This could be good for markets. And on top of that, the M2 Global Liquidity Index, which is this candle chart on the top, you can see we are sitting near the all-time high. We've had several green weeklies in a row, possibly about to get another breakout in global liquidity. And this is significant because what we've seen with the M2 Global Liquidity Index is that we haven't really left the 2022 highs. In 2022, we reached a peak in global liquidity with a major drawdown in global liquidity. Markets obviously came down alongside of it, and we just started to break above that 2022 resistance point, and now we've confirmed it as new support. I can draw a horizontal resistance line. You can see we've had a breakout, a retest, and now we are bouncing back up, possibly about to get a second break of resistance. And if that does occur, that would be a full confirmation that global liquidity is on the rise. And obviously all bull markets for Bitcoin and crypto so far have had a rise in global liquidity alongside them. And also Bitcoin dominance tends to drop when global liquidity is breaking out. So this is a very positive development if we do in fact get that next breakout. First of all, I want to talk about one of my most important updates, one of my favorite indicators, the weekly RSI breakouts. This is one of the best, most reliable signals for bullish pivots in Bitcoin land. That's what I've noticed. And throughout time, you can see every time we get a major weekly RSI breakout, there's a large rise in price. And we've had a series of weekly RSI breakouts, one being right at the beginning of 2023, causing a 95% rise. The next one, October of 2023, causing a 80% rise. The next one was February, end of January, or going into February of 2024, 73% rise. And of course, the September weekly RSI breakout, which we covered on this channel. Actually, we covered all of these on this channel. This one caused a 100% rise. And now we are seeing, if you look closely, the weekly RSI is starting to peak above the downtrend line. Now, of course, we still need to close the weekly. It's Thursday. We have a few days left in the week, but if we do get a close above this resistance line, well, it may indicate a huge leg up for Bitcoin is underway. Every single major uptrend for Bitcoin that we've had since the beginning of 2023 was marked by a weekly RSI breakout every single time. If we do in fact close with a weekly RSI breakout, I'm going to become very bullish on Bitcoin in the short, medium, and long term. And of course, everyone's going to ask, where is the price of Bitcoin going to go on this weekly RSI breakout? If you are a viewer of this channel, well, then you definitely know that we are in a parabolic trend, and we are following the parabolic trend to a T. Absolute perfection, base 1, base 2, base 3, base 4, where we are now, and then the sell point. Now, of course, there is no guaranteed number of bases before you reach your peak. It could be 3, it could be 7, right? The textbook is showing a standard 5, right? Including the sell point. And from base 3, the price doubles, which is roughly 62,000, middle of base 3, which would be 124,000. Now, it's debatable on exactly where you want to pick your base 3 value from. You could pick it from the low or from the high of the range. I just went with the middle, which lands us at 124,000. And we also have a monthly target for Bitcoin, which is 134,000 based on a monthly trap liquidity short squeeze setup. So in between 124, 134 is the target range for me on this parabolic trend. Is that a cycle peak target? No. This is simply the parabolic trend. Where Bitcoin ends up at the end of 2025 is different than what I'm talking about now. This is not a cycle peak prediction. It is a trend prediction. I do expect that after we get this next major punch, this next major parabolic advance to 124, maybe 134,000, there will be some sort of correction that comes alongside that, where the market would then settle up and then punch up into the end of the year for a much higher target. So before you get upset about me calling, not being bullish enough, just remember it will take a lot of time. It's not like it's going to be over soon. It's really just getting started. I consider this to be the mid-cycle point for Bitcoin. And the reason why I'm saying we're in the middle of it is because usually 80 weeks after the halving is when global liquidity begins its major drawdown. It's happened every cycle so far. 80 weeks after the halving is usually when the bear market truly begins. It's not necessarily calling the exact top, but it's usually when the bear market begins, and you really want to be out of the market 80 weeks after the halving every time. And so right now, from the halving, Bitcoin is currently 43 weeks in, and the 80th week, once again, is always where the bear market has begun in past cycles. And so we're kind of in the middle of it here. We have a lot of time. We have more time and less time than you think. In the last cycle, in February, which is where we are now, February, Bitcoin's price was sitting down here. This February began down here. And then we had all the way into November before the cycle ended. It's quite a lot of time, more time and less time than you think. And in that last cycle, it was a very similar setup. You had the all-time high break, a pullback, and then after February, breaking out. And here we have all-time high break, a pullback, and after February, breaking out. Most likely, setup is pretty similar, timing is pretty similar, and according to my models, we have until about October and maybe end of year. You could say it could be October, November, December, somewhere in the end of the year is when I expect this cycle to really sort of slow down. Now we could go up, pretty high into the end of the year, but after that, I do think the cycle will end, just like all the other areas. People, of course, are going to speculate and say, Kev, but what if this is a super cycle? What if blah, 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 blah? It's like, all right, good luck with those ideas. I'm just going to stick with the data. So the trend is our friend. Weekly RSI breakout, likely, and I'm sticking to the bullish side. The analysis on this channel for Bitcoin has not changed whatsoever. We've been calling this parabola since 2023, and it's playing out to the fullest extent possible. Now, I want to go over to others, which is the altcoins except the top 10 and also the total 3, which I do think will follow Bitcoin on this next portion of the run. Well, why do I say that? Well, if you look at the last cycle and you look at that February zone that we were talking about, the breakout, the pullback, and then go up after February. If you compare the altcoins, you'll see that they broke their all-time high really after that point, right? They're not exactly aligned. They're actually lagging. So Bitcoin breaks its all-time high here. Altcoins break their all-time high here when Bitcoin's all the way at 58,000. Bitcoin at the point of coming to 58,000, essentially when it hits 58, it really doesn't do anything after that. Yeah, we have some wicks, but ultimately around that point, it goes sideways at the top while the altcoins go to the moon, right? Altcoins are flying while Bitcoin's going sideways at the top. And if you look over here, Bitcoin likely about to do another run. Altcoins probably will follow to some extent. But once Bitcoin settles up at a much higher level, breakout, pullback, second leg up, just like the last cycle after February, then Bitcoin hits a target, settles up, goes sideways, and altcoins can start to really run after that. Now, I would like to move over to Bitcoin dominance because this has been a big topic. Of course, Bitcoin dominance has done really, really well over the course of this cycle thus far. And if you bring up the Bitcoin halving cycle profit, what you'll notice is that going into the 40th week in 2017 is when the plunge took place for dominance. Going into the 40th week, it was many weeks after the 40th week. It was really 46 weeks after the halving is when you got a plunge in dominance with a fake out and then plunge 46 weeks after. And if you move to the right to the current cycle, how many weeks are we after the halving currently? We are currently 43 weeks. Last one was 46. So in theory, we're not totally out of line just yet. We've had a fairly big rejection on Bitcoin dominance, similar to this one here. We're 43 weeks in. We dumped 46 weeks in last time. We're not really all that out of time yet. We're kind of on schedule as long as things start to happen soon. And Bitcoin dominance dropping is not bad for Bitcoin. It is simply an indicator that there is interest in crypto as a whole. The rest of the assets sort of outpace Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's also going up because there's just interest in crypto. For example, in 2017, when Bitcoin dominance was at its lowest point, the 80-week zone, Bitcoin was at near its highest point. So Bitcoiners actually benefit off of a Bitcoin dominance plunge because it means that there's just interest in this industry as a whole. And over here in the other cycle, 2021, the last cycle, that when dominance was sitting at its lowest zone, at the 80-week zone, Bitcoin was at its highest point right there at the lowest point in dominance. Highest point at the lowest point in dominance. So again, this is not bad for Bitcoin. It's really just good for everybody is really what it is. So I think things are going to play out. It's been difficult, I think, for a lot of people in this market to sit through all of this, to hold through it, because their expectations of how things should go are sort of playing with their heads, right? They think that the cycle should have happened already, but really it's all playing out as it should. Again, one breakout, second breakout is when the entire market begins to rise. So looks pretty good. Bitcoin dominance here. Bitcoin, the RSI, the weekly RSI, I meant to say, is ready for a breakout, the next leg up, the second breakout. And this is where things really get good for crypto. So if you guys enjoy this type of content and you want to support this channel, be sure to join the Patreon. Join in on the morning Discord voice chats, which are weekday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. You can only get in the Discord by first being a Patreon member. So click that link below, sign up, smash the like, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.